Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another weekly live stream here on Celtics Digest. I'm Bruce Velez with my co host, Patrick Billings. And Patrick, this was a fun week for you to, kind of get into the swing of things here on Celtics Digest here, as they have been on an absolute tear on this homestand recently.
Yeah, Bruce, hopefully I'm bringing some good luck to this team
Hmm.
somehow. I mean, we've had a lot to talk about, a lot of records being broken with this Celtics team, and just a lot of fun games to watch. And tonight is another one that is expected to be really, really fun.
No, I can't wait to get into tonight's contest, look back at the past week, and really go over why the NBA is basically terrified of this Boston Celtics team as, the defending NBA champions are only getting hotter in these last couple of games and should look to be taking on to this and avalanching it into the playoffs as well. And I'm excited to break down all of that, get into, Kristaps Porziņģis injury updates as well, and all of that jazz. So it's going to be absolutely fantastic. And first, Patrick, let's kind of dive in and let's look back at this past week. As, like we mentioned in the introduction, we had a very, very great week this week as the Celtics went back home, took on the Denver Nuggets, capped them off with a nice win, and then have continued that win streak from last week as now they have five straight wins at home, and they got all four this week.
Yeah, and if we look at this week, there was a lot of times where guys needed to step up. That's really just been what we've been talking about all week long. And I feel like we're just repeating ourselves, and it's just this next man up mentality. Derrick White stepping up, Peyton Pritchard stepping up, and seeing guys like Sam Hauser last night being able to step up 2 nights ago. But against a bunch of teams with other injury ridden things going on with them. But I mean, you gain some confidence from these guys come playoff time. So it's definitely something you want to see. And getting into these big games as well, if we get into foul trouble, being confident with these guys stepping into a bigger role. Kristaps Porziņģis has been out a lot, so I think you get a lot of confidence from this team, and this brings a lot of help to the Celtics. And just again, it's something really really good to look at, and something to that helps with this playoff push here, and just really builds your confidence.
100%. And you mentioned that the Celtics broke a lot of records this week, individually, team records. And if we want to kind of dive into these games, the game versus the Blazers was one that they shattered some records. As we saw no Jayson Tatum in that contest for the Celtics, but guys like Peyton Pritchard and Derrick White stepped up, becoming the first duo of Boston Celtics to drop 40 points, both getting career highs as well. And it was just an absolute fantastic game. Peyton Pritchard also had 10 rebounds and almost had a triple double as he was 5 assists shy. And when you think back, we talked about the Blazers, they were an exciting young team. When you see guys like Peyton Pritchard and Derrick White step up like this, it just makes you realize that this team is just truly undefeatable and in some aspects.
I mean, I think it really shows that Derek White has this all-star potential. I mean, he just was absolutely insane, and the way that he shoots some of his threes, he does practice catching off of some bad passes and being able to release the ball a lot quicker. I think that practice is really just like translating into his game, because he's constantly putting up heavily contested threes, and it's as if the defender's not even there sometimes. And I think just little things like that definitely help elevate this team as well. But like we said, that Blazers game was awesome. I mean, regardless of the 10-point win, it definitely felt a little bit larger than that. But against a great defensive team in Portland, as they have been recently, I think that's still a big win, regardless of the injuries that the Trailblazers did have as well.
100%. And Portland had some streaky shooters as well. Jabari Walker went off for them in that game, not missing a lot of shots. It was, some back and forth action with a nice young team. But guys like Derek White, Payne Pritchard, stepped up. And I like how you put it there that they kind of, Derek White played like obviously an all star, but they kind of played to their role, like to what they truly could be in the NBA if they were, not taking a little bit of a sacrifice being on a championship team to really win. And you got to appreciate that with those guys as well. As not only they want to win, but also are willing to take that sacrificial role to help out the guys like Tatum and Brown. But when those guys are out or struggling, they can step up and deliver as well.
Right. And I think we saw that again with that Sixers game, another injury ridden team, and as well as that Jazz team missing Laurie Markkinen. But they did have John Collins back, who did really step up towards the end of that game. It did get a little close once again, Bruce, but they have been letting up a lot of these runs, but have been able to close the gap as well for themselves, and just really not let up on these leads. And again, this is just a different team in this short span of time that we've seen in a while. I mean, I'm kind of just expecting them sometimes to lose the lead and then kind of just lose the game, like we saw in that last Thunder contest where I believe they were up by 10 at half, end up losing the game by what 13. So I mean, this is definitely a different type of team, and this is the right time to play this way with playoffs coming soon.
100%. You mentioned the Sixers, the Jazz, some injury riddled teams, and the Celtics also, kind of going through that injury mess as well. Not obviously as devastating as those two teams, but, getting kind of out of the funk. And what the crazy part is what this Celtics team is like in every one of these games, someone else kind of stepped up. You saw in the Blazers game, it was Derrick White and Peyton Pritchard. You look at this Sixers game, right? Jayson Tatum played pretty solid, but guys like Peyton Pritchard did good, Baylor Shireman did good, Torrey Craig did good. Then you look at that Jazz game, guys like Sam Hauser really stepped up and delivered, right? So a lot of these guys, like, it goes to show you that this team also can work together as a unit because when they're missing those pieces, it's not like, oh, it's just Derrick White or oh, it's just Jrue Holiday or Kristaps Porziņģis, like that third star carrying that load. It's sporadically distributed around to all of these guys to where effectively each of them could go off and really hit it home for the Boston Celtics to any opponent.
Yeah, and I think out of all those players that needed a big game like that was Sam Hauser. I was able to talk about it last night. He has been on quite the cold streak. He had a game with 0 points, only with one shot, game with about 5 points, 8 points, and then goes off for 33, a career high. Um, you know what? He's starting to find his shot back again, but Joe Mazzulla has that confidence in him. And like he even said in a quote that he always has confidence that none of his shots are bad shots, regardless of him going 1 for 7. He just expects them to take them shots, and that's what this team has been built around all year long. It's live or die by the three, and they think all those shots are great shots regardless. If it's a great look, then they have confidence in him knocking them down. I mean, he's a perennial 3-point shooter in the league. I mean, not shooting it as much of a high clip as a lot of other people are, but I think that you are very confident in him shooting any wide open three, let alone any three in general.
100%. And I think it's severely, maybe not disrespected, but undervalued across the league because a lot of people see him as just, a catch and shoot scorer as his highlight clips. They see him going off for those 30 points. So they don't necessarily understand him. And in some highlight moments, yes, he's going to get picked on defense because he might be one of the worst defenders on this Celtics team or out of the main rotation. But that's not to, slight or hinder him in any way
Oh,
on the
not at
defensive
all.
side because he's one of the better defenders in across the league in at the wing
Yeah.
position for the Celtics. Still, you know what I mean. He can still hold his own, and we saw that throughout the finals. So I think that's something that a lot of Celtics fans resonate with and feel happy with too. And we saw with him, getting hot. They said, before the season, Jaylen Brown said Sam Hauser, he's a guy that goes off versus like teams like the Pistons and stuff like that. And once again, we saw that with the Utah Jazz team missing their best player, Lauri Markkanen, towards the bottom. Sam Hauser can just electrifyingly go off and score 33, get his career high, similar to what we saw kind of last season versus, Portland and Washington towards the end of that season. And then finally, to recap these games, we talk about the main highlight of, this past week, which was the Lakers game. You know what I mean? Celtics versus Lakers at home. Absolutely fantastic atmosphere. A great game back and forth. You know what I mean? Celtics really opened it up in that second half into that third quarter. Lakers kind of came back. They gave them that stiff arm, extended that lead a little bit, took care of business. What are some main takeaways from that Lakers game from you, Patrick?
I think the main takeaway was being able to have Luca getting into some trouble on the offensive end, especially in that first half. He did not look like the same Luca that we have seen, especially with the Lakers recently. But I mean, he did pick it up come that crunch time. But you're gonna expect that from a player like that. But I mean, Al Horford, Bruce, we keep talking about him, man. That star stopper, and I think that he is just the main key to all these games. I mean, it's just funny enough bringing up Al Horford talking about him like that, but he truly is a game changer for the Boston Celtics, regardless of you looking at the Jayson Tatums and Jaylen Browns. I mean, he really is a bigger difference maker than those guys, especially on the defensive end when it comes to guarding guys like Jokic, even LeBron, stepping up on Luca on the switch. I think that you do give a lot more confidence for him on the defensive end for that team.
100%. And we kind of talked about it as well. I don't know if we talked about it on stream, but Horford, has had some good percentiles working within this starting lineup and working with this Celtics team. So he just meshly fits as well. But not only just that, just really takes that stay ready mentality, really buys into it. When his number is called, when he's needed for those big games, he truly ultimately delivers. You say, like we said, the stopper, the defensive stopper for all these stars, and that's truly what he is. We went in that video, broke it down, looked at those guarding percentages, had one of the best defensive isolation games in NBA history over the last decade, and that's just crazy to see out of, a 38-year-old Al Horford. You know what I mean? Just like
Yeah.
almost 40 years old, and he's doing all of that on the defensive side. Just amazing to see. Alongside that, you had Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown going off, going left and right. And for the Celtics, I think that was a much needed win. Obviously, the Lakers were on a big win streak, but you look at the teams that they had played over these last four. Sixers a little bit banged up, Jazz not the toughest best competition, Blazers young rising team, but doesn't really match up with the Celtics. The fact that they were able to get that Lakers game in there as well alongside these three wins as well, I think really boosted their confidence and can kind of get them set right for tonight's contest versus the Oklahoma City Thunder, because we saw a lot of guys, kind of take that night off versus that Jazz game. KP was out, Tatum was out, I believe Al was out as well. And now the Celtics will be taking on the Oklahoma City Thunder. And Patrick, we have a little bit of an injury update for this. We all know that Jalen Williams is out. Alex Caruso just got notified as we were speaking 3 minutes ago. He is now listed out alongside as AJ Mitchell. So all three of these guys will be out for the Thunder tonight. Topic obviously out for the season. And for the Celtics, you have a little bit of an injury update yourself.
Yeah, Kristaps Porziņģis, he was seen shooting around today, so a little bit of positivity coming into this one, but he is not playing today, sadly. We still don't know what's going on. I mean, he was able to shoot around, which is a positive. You would have liked to see him play in this game, but no J Dub and no Caruso is probably a bigger miss for the Thunder than missing Porzingis tonight. To be frank, I mean, the Celtics have been playing without Porzingis now 7 straight games, Bruce. So they've been playing without him, and they've been playing well without him. And the Celtics are used to it at this point. So I don't think it's the biggest loss, but I think you really do want to see him get back into this lineup soon.
100%. And you see Brown and Tatum there on that, game time decision. I didn't really figure that they would, be missing this game. The Celtics would
New York
desperately,
will be.
kind of, need them. But for Porzingis, it's unfortunate that he will be out, like you mentioned, 7 straight games. And Patrick, you mentioned that he was shown at, shoot around today. We did see this from Noah Dalzell and Jack Simone. There he is at practice. And he gave us a little bit of an update, saying that he's been dealing with some sort of illness that he's been trying to kind of understand. He hopes the Celtics family understands as he's trying to get back on the court. So we're hoping the best for Kristaps Porzingis. I know we all would love to see him, but the Thunder do have, some good matchups for Kristaps Porzingis. We saw them, like we mentioned, get the best of the Celtics in their last matchup, 105-92, but when you look at this team, right? Obviously, no Caruso, no Jalen Williams. Having that secondary scorer is going to be a little bit tougher for this Thunder team here with no Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, and other stuff. But Chet Holmgren, Isaiah Hartenstein, are going to be tough for the Celtics to deal with no Kristaps Porzingis. Al Horford, I think, will do a solid job, but Porzingis will definitely be missing for that too.
Yeah, I mean, those two for the Thunder have actually been playing really well together. They've been able to mesh very quick because they weren't able to really play a lot of games together as Hartenstein was out for a while. So they are actually a pretty tough lob threat as they're both passing the ball really well to each other. So it should be interesting. I mean, Bruce, got to see some Nemi tonight. I think Neemias Queta will play some tonight, play with some tough mentality. Luke Cornett's been playing well as well on the lob threat. So I think this is going to be a great matchup tonight. It's definitely a finals preview. But real quick, going back to Al Horford, I want to just say real quick, I think that he is the one person on this team that knows what it takes to have that back to back mentality because he did that at Florida. So I think maybe he knows what it takes and how he needs to play to get this team pushing forward. But that's besides the point. I just wanted to bring that up quick. But I think that he will definitely be a menace tonight. I'm curious to who he'll match up on. Maybe some Chet Holmgren as he's been able to stretch the floor a little bit more, and maybe have Luke Cornett go down low on Hartenstein. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what do you think, Bruce? What do you think the matchups are looking like?
I think that kind of makes some sense. Obviously, having a guy like Horford kind of on the perimeter. I think that they're going to ultimately switch because Hartenstein's also got that back to the basket type of mentality where you might want to have Horford on him a little bit too, a little bit of a slower big. But I think that Horford will kind of see the mention of both, and I think we're going to see Horford a lot in this game. And the Celtics, knowing that Porziņģis was questionable for this game and that the Thunder do have that ability to run that double big, I think they stressed the importance of resting Al Horford for that Jazz game. You mentioned Neemias Queta as well. I'm very excited to see him kind of get back in there. And my boy Josh Crampton also mentions here that Horf could have a revenge game versus the Thunder as they ruled him out years ago, which I completely forgot about. So thanks, Cramp, for letting me know about that. But yeah, Horford revenge game kind of tonight going up against this Thunder team. Jrue Holiday is back playing with that splint so he can guard Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. But the Thunder's prime defender, Alex Caruso, he's kind of out. So maybe a little bit of a chance for an explosion. I know they have Case and Wallace, but guys like Derrick White, Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum might have a little bit of an easier time here if, Lou Dort and Case and Wallace are prioritized on two of them. They might have a little bit of an extra freeway to get one of those guys open, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, with a guy like Shea, you only got to try and contain him. Especially with a night like tonight, J Dub has been playing some great basketball for the Thunder, but
Mm-hmm.
I think we're going to see a lot of switching from the Celtics, and they have, you know, no problem with that. I think JT is a great defender. Jaylen Brown's a great defender as well. A little bit under the radar, but I think this team can all defend and can defend Shea well and just get a couple different of looks. I mean, see who's more hot on offense and probably give them a lesser of a defensive load just so that they continue to flow on offense. But I think we're going to see a ton of different guys guarding Shea tonight.
No, I think so too. And who knows? We might even see the Celtics go a little bit into that bench unit here and try to find some guys to kind of utilize as well versus this Thunder team. A guy like Torrey Craig or possibly even Jordan Walsh with that, wing ability to quite go up against some of those guys like, Aaron Wiggins, Isaiah Joe that they have on their lineup. We could maybe see some of those guys as well. And ultimately, we kind of know the Thunder are the top team in the West. The Celtics are one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. This is kind of my predicted finals matchup. It has been since the start of the season, and I think that these games are always going to be exciting. And I'm just really looking forward to potentially seeing what we could see in the NBA Finals in June.
Yeah, I mean, definitely the Thunder are the leading favorites, but I think LeBron and Luca have been playing great as well. So I think between those two teams, they'll definitely be against the Boston Celtics. We talk about this constantly. The Cavs have been playing well, but I think you really expect the Celtics team to get back, especially with their experience and bringing back pretty much this whole team. So I don't know, Bruce. I mean, the Thunder team is definitely pretty tough, especially with the guys that they're missing. Definitely hurts them with Caruso being out. I think that definitely changes their lineup. I'm curious to see what they're going to do. But Aaron Wiggins has really been able to fill that role in well. I think he's had a 40-point game this year as well with some guys out, so he's definitely able to shoot the ball pretty well. I'm just curious to see what these matchups look like tonight. I do think there is a lot of switching that it's going to happen, and just hopefully a big game from some other guys, not the ones that we expect, but kind of like the guys that we've been seeing in the last couple of games, like Sam Hauser or even some Peyton Pritchard. Once again, he continues to show up constantly.
Yeah, exactly. I'd love to see them, even if it's not like, a 20 or 25 point performance, get it sporadically split by those kind of guys, giving them 10 each or something like that. I think could be very helpful for the Celtics team. And you mentioned Aaron Wiggins, the guy who saved basketball for the Oklahoma City Thunder. That guy is an absolute legend, my guy. Shout out to Bryson over on Thunder Digest. Me and him talking. He always talking to me about Aaron Wiggins, and he's been a very, very underappreciated, role player and wing for that Thunder team. And you mentioned they got a lot of young guys, a lot of switchability, kind of similar to this Celtics team as well, kind of similar molds. I think just like a little bit younger, and they kind of got that, status of that building of a Celtics, where they can kind of realistically be what the Celtics are, potentially even better at this moment. You know what I mean? So I'm very excited to see what that Thunder team can present. Patrick, before we get into anything more and kind of get into some more topics, let's let the fans know about the new promotion that we're doing here over on Celtics Digest. So guys, check out this. We are kicking off a March Madness Bracket Challenge here on this channel, and we've decided to partner with the app Hot Takes to run this event amongst other Digest channels. And it's completely free to sign up. All you need to do is download the app, click the top left banner March Madness, and go to the bottom right to find groups. Scroll down and find the Digest Media Pool and click that to join. You can win up to $25,000 in total prizes, and there's a real chance to win as there's a smaller pool involved in this challenge. All you need to do is go down to the pinned comment down below and click that link or scan this QR code and enter the code DIGEST in all caps to receive your exclusive perks. Remember, it is free to sign up, and if you have any questions revolving around this promotion, follow the pinned comment to revert back to the email. We hope to catch you guys on this group pool, and make sure to enter before March 16th before the tournament starts. So once again, guys, we're partnering with the Hot Takes app to present a March Madness bracket. And I know Patrick is in the group, I'm in the group, and we're excited to, cook up our own brackets of our own, get some, potential winnings getting spread out to the community. And we want you guys to join as well. So if you guys are interested in the potential, you know, bracket challenge, definitely check out the videos in the pinned description, and we'll have some of that stuff for you guys here. But Patrick, let's get into some more Celtics stuff here. As we did go over the Kristaps Porziņģis injury stuff. We went over, some good other stuff with this Celtics team, looking at tonight's game, looking at the Bass. But what we didn't really go over was this image. And can you kind of give an explanation to the fans of what this is?
Looks like a bald Sam Hauser. That's what it looks like to me.
Yes,
Looks
it
like
is.
he might have the game of his life once again. I mean, that's what I'm hoping to see. So maybe it brings up some luck with that bald head. Maybe a headband night tonight from Derrick White and Tatum as well. Get the bald head and headbands. I'm with it.
I actually like the idea of the headband night tonight. I think that would actually be a perfect fit with Sam Hauser kind of rocking that bald head. Him and Derek White could go at it. But yes, the Celtics star Sam Hauser, after going off versus the Utah Jazz, has decided to shave his hair for charity. He's pictured here with, Mike Vrabel, the Celtics, not the Celtics, the Patriots head coach, Joe Mazzulla, the Celtics head coach, and Joe Andruzzi, a Patriot Hall of Famer, all here, and they all decided to do and get their head shaved for charity. Really, really great thing to see. And for Sam Hauser, after going off once again for his career high, we mentioned Patrick. Hopefully, he can kind of get into the rhythm of things tonight for the Celtics team and for this future, because Sam brings a lot of versatility for this squad off the bench as that 3-and-D wing. And when they really have him going off like they did in the playoffs last year towards the end of the season, where he was a consistent 9 to potential 15 points per night, that is just so valuable for a second unit.
Yeah, Bruce, and like I talked about in the last video as well, I went ahead and looked at the box score from that last game against the Thunder. There was not a lot of bench production, especially from Sam Hauser, Peyton Pritchard, Luke Cornett, and Al Horford. So that's why this past week we've been talking about a lot of these next up guys, like again and again. But it really leads up to a game like tonight, because that was definitely needed in the last matchup, especially on the road. So we're looking at something new tonight. Everyone is getting healthy. Porzingis is still out, but they're used to this lineup and a lot of these guys getting a lot of minutes. So I expect that bench lineup to really step up even more tonight than we've seen in the last couple of games. And I do expect some big things from the Celtics tonight. Hopefully a double-digit win, especially with the Thunder missing some guys. But they've played with this lineup long enough in the last 2 weeks, and I definitely expect them to step up this game regardless of last time. But I mean, we're deeper in the season now, and I think this bench is really going to step up.
I hope so too. And like you mentioned, obviously with no Porzingis, that's probably going to slot Horford into the starting lineup, starting for the Celtics here with them. Maybe they run a double big up lineup with Luke and run Jrue off the bench, but I don't really see that happening. I think Horford would probably get in there. So having Pritchard, Cornett, Sam Hauser as those three main bench guys for the Celtics tonight. Probably will be seeing a guy like Torrey Craig, potentially even Peterson, Jordan Walsh thrown in there for some minutes. Hopefully the Celtics can get that much needed bench production that they desperately needed in their last contest and get that revenge in TD Garden. But Patrick, before we sign off, before we say goodbye to the fans, we got to get into the prediction for this next week, as the Celtics here on this, schedule blanket are in the middle of a Jazz sandwich, you could kind of say. They had the Jazz on Monday, but that doesn't count from last week, and the Jazz on Friday, so that doesn't count for this week. But we got 4 games coming up. We got tonight versus the Thunder, Friday versus the Miami Heat, a team that has been struggling since that post Jimmy Butler era has left, but it's the weak Eastern Conference. They'll most likely make the playoffs. And then the Nets in back-to-back contests, one in Brooklyn and one in TD. What is your honest prediction for these next 4 games? How do you think the Celtics are going to fare, and what are you expecting from these ones?
I mean, I expect them to sweep this. They've been playing great basketball, but regardless of how the Heat have been playing, I feel like I can't count that all what out whatsoever. Especially if I see a big win tonight against the Thunder, which I do expect. I think that the Celtics do get it done, but I think going out to Miami, it's always going to be a tough matchup. So I could see that being a lot closer. But You got the back to back against the Nets. Cam Thomas is back, so more exciting basketball for you fans. And another one against the Jazz. It's never really easy playing teams very close together, just because you've got the tape from so recently. Hopefully, we'll see Kristaps Porziņģis come back in one of these games. Maybe we'll see him come back against the Nets in one of those games. But I do think that they should end up winning these next five.
I think so too, and I think we're getting into a point here for the Celtics where yeah, there's going to be some difficult ones, thrown in there for the bunch, but we're getting into a point where they're kind of in cool axe mode, kind of just like there's a little bit of a month left to the season. Let's finish these games right, obviously be in the right mindset, but just eventually get to the playoffs and be ready to be locked in at that point. I think this Thunder game, they're desperately going to be locked in. Obviously, the top team coming into town. They're going to want to beat them, and then going off to Miami. But versus Brooklyn, obviously, I think a game for Kristaps Porzingis to come back, kind of a little bit of a ramp up, kind of get ready to go, kind of get under his feet, get the swing of things would be nice. Or maybe even that Jazz game if he has to be held out to that long. You know what I mean? I think that
Mhm.
would be solid for the Boston Celtics. And ultimately, this team in general has been very, very dominating in all aspects of the game, offensively, defensively, coaching wise, and I'm very excited to see how they shape out things in the finish at the end.
Yeah, I think they're going to finish out well. They've been playing well. Playing well at home is what we did want to see on this home stretch. We've been struggling in the past few years, especially in the playoffs. We see us playing better on the road. I mean, that gives you some confidence, I guess. If they end up at the 2 seed, I still got some confidence in the one. Hopefully, the Cavs can kind of slow down a little bit. But I mean, you like to see him get that home court advantage and kind of take care of that. But Bruce, what are your predictions for the Thunder game tonight? We did well last time we were on stream. I'm thinking a 110 to 101 win for the Celtics, a 9 point win. Kind of get a 15-point lead, bring the bench guys, and kind of just dwindles down a little bit from there. But seeing a 9 point win, but in a dominant way.
I like that prediction. I'm feeling a Celtics win too. I think that with Jalen Williams out there, they're without one of their second best scorers, one of their top dominant players, and I think the Celtics could limit Shea Gilgeous-Alexander enough to where the Thunder will be stunted a little bit on offense. Now, obviously, they have a lot of depth, so some of those players could come out, but I am feeling a bit of a win for the Celtics here. I'm gonna go with them winning. I'll go with a 7 point win. I'll go with a little bit of a closer margin there, just a little bit closer, and I'll go 101 to 94. That is going to be my prediction. All right, just a little bit lower, but I think it's going to be a solid defensive game by both of these teams, and I think that we're going to see. I think. Hmm, I think we're going to see Derrick White hit like 4 or 5. I mean, that's kind of consistent for Derrick White, but four or
It has
five
to.
threes for this team, which is going to be very solid for him tonight. I feel him just getting kind of in that rhythm offensively back in Boston with this squad.
Yeah, I think they definitely should go ahead and attack Shea a little bit more tonight. Try and see him to get into some foul trouble, but they definitely got to give some pressure on the 3 point line. Something that we've seen Shea be a lot better at this year, and I mean it shows with him being leading in the NBA in scoring and points per game. But I think kind of respecting his three and kind of getting out there. I think that's a Peyton Pritchard job though, kind of getting him a little bit worn out and play some quicker basketball so that he could tire out a little bit and he's always going to get to the foul line. We know how Shea is. He's a merchant when he does that. I mean, even Brunson as well. Um, but I think really trying to tire him out and get him a little bit annoyed in a way. So I think Peyton Pritchard could do a great job with that on the offensive end for the Celtics. But on the defensive side, I really do want to see some Torrey Craig, man. I don't really know why they can't find some time for him in some big minutes, but he hasn't been the best 3 point shooter in his career. But since coming to the Celtics, I mean, it feels like he's been pretty much knocked down since he's touched the ball every single time from three.
Yeah, he's been really solid and defensively as well. He's been really good for
Yeah,
this team. You mentioned a lot of those blocks he's gotten on this Celtics squad already. He's been able to, kind of fit in like a glove. He kind of, really resembles what the Celtics need in a 3-and-D player. And since he has that veteran mentality, kind of knows where to play in. And offensively, like you mentioned, he's had some streaks where he's gone a little bit cold, but offensively has been very solid for this Celtics team. And I think he should get, tonight I would kind of have him be the first call off the bench out of those, besides
right.
those other three, besides Pritchard, Hauser, and Cornet, just because he has that veteran experience versus a good team like Oklahoma City. And I think that some Torrey Craig minutes should definitely be warranted tonight for sure.
Yeah, I totally agree. I've been waiting to see him get on the court, but I mean, they're playing guys like Drew Peterson over him. I'm kind of just curious to what Joe Mazzulla is thinking. But I mean, a veteran guy that can play in some big games, especially like this one. I kind of expect him to be ramped up soon. And I mean, come playoff time, I don't think they're going to want to play Drew Peterson over him. So
No, I don't
I think
think so.
Torrey Gregg would really be able to start his ramp up tonight and be able to step up in these big games, even against the Heat as well. I mean, just getting in those rivalry games and this finals preview as well, I think are the perfect time for him to really get ramped up.
Exactly, kind of finding his mold and finding his way into this rotation, even if it's for sporadic minutes versus these top tier contenders, so the Celtics can truly see what he can bring to this team when they, need it most. Kind of when they brought in a guy like O'Shea Brissett in versus that Pacers game, and he was a +7 in those, 2 or 3 minutes that he was in there, something like that from Torrey Craig. I definitely could see that happening. So kind of getting him warmed up for those runs. My boy Josh letting us know he's got a prediction of 111, 107 for the game tonight.
I like that.
Patrick, is there anything else you'd like to talk about following this live stream with the Celtics?
Man, I'm really just hoping for a good gritty game tonight. A lot of high expectations. I think they learned a lot from that Cavs game that they kind of blew. Because ever since then they've been playing some great basketball and being able to hold on to those leads, let alone against that Lakers game. I think he got down to a 4 point game at a point, but they were able to kind of stretch their lead once again. So kind of getting out of their old ways and getting into a new way and really pushing for that back to back, knowing how tough it's going to be and just kind of being able to stay locked in, especially up 20. It's definitely not safe in today's NBA, Bruce.
100%. And you can see just like that with the Celtics that some quarters can slip away with this team. We saw it last time, like you mentioned, with Oklahoma City Thunder, as that third quarter was the kryptonite. And hopefully, knock on wood, that it's not the kryptonite for the Celtics tonight. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this live stream here on Celtics Digest, where we went over everything Celtics related, talking about Sam Hauser going off, looking at the past week, giving predictions about the future week, and looking in depth on this Oklahoma City Thunder matchup. I want to say huge shout out to you guys. And once again, if you guys are interested in joining, the little promotion we got with Hot Takes, definitely check out the link down below and check out the future videos for that as well. And Patrick and I, we'll catch you guys next week. We will have a special
Oh
guest
yeah,
next week
big
on
time.
this stream, and it's going to be super, super fantastic. You guys definitely want to make sure you guys are here next week to check out Celtics Digest on this weekly live stream that we do every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern. So, if you guys want to make sure you stay up to date on everything revolving around this team, news updates, live streams, post game videos, breakdowns of players, all of that jazz, and much more coming throughout, the playoffs and into the offseason. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button on Celtics Digest, as myself and Patrick will be doing duos, solos, giving you guys all that content that you guys want on the Celtics team here, and this is the central spot for you guys. Once again, thank you guys so much for tuning in and being here and hanging out with us, and we'll catch you guys in the next live stream next week. Have a great rest of your guys' week, and go Boston Celtics. Peace out, everyone.